What's going on, guys? It's Tetrosphere, and we finally have communication from Konami once again regarding Genesys format. This time in recap of the happenings at the YCS Bologna Genesys Invitational. Now, to be fair, it seems like information from this event was coming in very, very slowly, and I'm guessing that was not a problem that was unique to our end of the spectrum. I'm guessing Konami also was, for whatever reason, having a lot of trouble getting the what am I trying to say? Information. There's the word. So I have, I have already read this article, so I do already know some of my thoughts, but we're going to go ahead and go over it piece by piece anyway. Differences in qualification. So the Bologna qualifiers were run a little differently than they were out at the North America and Latin America YCS events. In Bologna, qualifiers were held on a Friday before the event began, so strong duelists that normally would be competing in the main event all day Saturday had a chance to qualify and have a tournament to fall back on for Sunday if they failed to make it through day one. As such, the format for the Invitational qualifiers was shifted as well, from single elimination to essentially double elimination Swiss. You still needed to win 3 to get in, but it was win 3 of 4 instead of win 3 in a row. This could have resulted in an Invitational with over 64 players, but it was done to take into account the possibility of many qualifiers not showing up on Sunday due to still being in the main event. Indeed, there were duelists who qualified on Friday and then performed extremely well in the main event, leading them to skipping the Invitational. So just a difference in the structure of how you earned your invitation, which I think that's a better structure, to be honest. Differences in deck selection. Why did we bring that up? Because being able to lose one and still qualify does change the equation a bit on what sort of decks you can qualify with. 4 decks that had never qualified before: Infernal Knights, Unchained Archfiend, Heraldic Beasts, and Lunalight made the field in Bologna. Lunalight is a deck that's specifically been considered strong and difficult to fight against once it gets going, but it struggled mightily into straight single elimination events. Under the modified qualifier rules, 4 Lunalight decks made it in. 3 of them were one and dones in the Invitational, but the 4th went all the way and won the tournament. Something to think about as we move forward is that the current Invitational format is going to be retired in the new year and replaced with the same format used in the YCS events as Genesys moves out of early access and gets plugged into our standard tournament systems. This will affect the tournament viability or lack thereof of certain decks, and we'll be taking it into account moving forward. So I had trouble interpreting this. It says replaced with the same format used in the YCS events. So does that mean like a 2-day event with several rounds of Swiss? Is that how we're doing it? Okay. Any extreme outliers? The deck that lost the most ground was Archmage, which had grown its share from Anaheim to Pittsburgh and then dropped off heavily in Bologna. Instead, 2 decks reached outlier status with more than double the showing of Lunalight in the Invitational, which, to be clear, they said Lunalight had 4 showings, so these had more than 8. Draco Tail and Radiant Typhoon Runic. Draco Tail operates as a high-power Shaddoll-style deck, and in some cases even includes Shaddolls. You fusion summon, and the monsters you fuse together activate their effects in the graveyard to give you more cards. Of course, it's much faster than Shaddoll decks used to be, with Draco Tail 5 mana letting you start fusing in the first main phase of the game, even if it's not your turn. The Draco Tail spell trap cards you get for fusing your monsters are very strong, and in particular, Draco Tail Flame is so strong that it escaped containment and became a generic card used in many decks, especially side decks. I agree. I want to point that out. I said it before, Draco Tail Flame is an awesome tech, just as generic spell negation. Unlike the standard Radiant Typhoon decks, Radiant Typhoon Runic has an excess of removal, draw, and search power, and almost all those extra cards are quick plays that also attack the opponent's main deck. It's a deck that often never has to attack at all, and just waits for the opponent to deck out, while defending with powerful Xyz monsters and randomly sniping key cards from the top of the deck. We think it's fine to have a deck in the format that's analogous to the old Needleworm deck-out decks, but this particular combination where you get to play 2 entire decks that are individually good enough to win on their own at the same time has become so widespread that neither main engine will be completely free after the next update. Great. I agree. Radiant Typhoon needs points. They're suggesting, though, that Runic will also get points, which I think is bizarre. But who knows how they'll do that. It might just be like freezing curses to 3 points, or maybe Fountain to 3 or 5 points. Who knows? Any extreme card usage outliers. In Pittsburgh, there was only one card that was used in 30% or more of all decks submitted for the qualifiers, Joel and Lockbird. In fact, 54% of all possible copies of it were registered in the qualifiers, though we should note that this number treats the players who enter multiple qualifiers with the same deck list as a unique player each time. Looking at how many copies were in the Invitational itself, where the players were actually unique, 63% of all the possible copies were played. So how I'm interpreting this is it's possible to play 3 per person. So however many players there were in the Invitational, say it was 100. I know it's not actually 100. I think it's meant to cap at 64, but let's just say it was 100. So that means 300 possible Joel and Lockbirds. They're saying 63% of the possibilities were played. So in the event that it was a 100-person tourney, that would be 300 potential Joel and Lockbirds. 189 were actually in decks, to use that simple math of 100. This may sound low if you're used to looking at Master Duel or Advanced Format trends, but for Genesys, where there's a cost to including it, that's a ton. Speaking just as one person on the Genesys team, I consider anything over 33% for a generic card to be an outlier, and take a look into whether it's that way because it's specifically countering a deck trend or because it's outperforming its salary. For Joel, the answer is probably both, which makes the Bologna Invitational number shocking. Only 35% of the maximum number were registered. Wait, oh! So 63% was Pittsburgh. 35% was Bologna. Okay. So Joel and Lockbird saw a lot less use in Bologna, which I find bizarre, if I'm being honest. But still, 35% is over the 33% that he says to be considered an out, or they, I should say to be considered an outlier. So, which advanced format forbidden cards were popular? There were only 4 advanced format forbidden cards used in the Bologna Invitational. 2 players decided to use both Pot of Greed and Mirage of Nightmare in their deck. 1 player opted to play a pair of Heavy Storm, and 1 player ran a copy of Ranga Minyad. 1 person in the Invitational played Rongo. 1 person? No. I actually don't believe you. That has to be cap. 1 person played Rongo. That's like what Anima is doing right now, is making Ranga Minion. No. Unless you're referring to the top 4 or top 8. If you're saying 1 person in top 8, then okay. But the whole Invitational? No. No. This has to be a No. No. When is the next update? We were planning to line it up with the release of Phantom Revenge, as there are some cards in that set that proactively attack the main/extra deck, so that's referring, I think, to some Kiel Tune stuff. We're going to take the NA release day of Phantom Revenge as an opportunity to take some extra time for this update and also prepare a what to expect article for it. We're shooting for the 15th of the next update, but we'll let you know in the what to expect article if that changes. Okay, guys. They mentioned Droll, which a lot of people in the community agree needs to be a lot more points in the format. They, however, are pointing out that it went down from 63% use to 35%. So I'm hoping that that's not their case, that it's not a problem. But they say anything over 33, they're going to take a look at it. And they're saying it was 35, so that's over 33. So hopefully that's a suggestion that they're taking a look at Droll. I'm deeply concerned that 1 player ran a copy of Rongo. I am deeply concerned that means that they're not going to see Rongo as a problem because only one person played it. Rongo is a problem in this format, dude. That card needs to be 100 points. I'm pleased as pie that they're talking about putting points on Radiant Typhoon, and they seem to be suggesting that Draco Tail is going to see even more points. I guess that's fine. I think Draco Tail is a meta call because of the popularity of Droll, but I mean, I'm not mad if Draco Tail gets more points. I don't care whether or not Draco Tail is in this format, so that's fine. 4 Lunalite decks made it in. 4th went all the way and won the tournament. I mean, I'm really hoping that a lot of this gets cleared up in the what to expect section, because the only thing that they said here that will definitely see points is Radiant Typhoon and Runic. Which, look, those cards need points. If those are the only, like, main cards... Well, no, they also said proactively attack some stuff in Phantom Revenge. So some stuff in Phantom Revenge is basically confirmed to see points, and Radiant Typhoon and Runic are definitely confirmed to see points. That's fine. I'm happy about that. What I'm concerned about is what they're not saying. They're not saying Lunalite is going to get points. They're not saying Animat or Rongo. Ideally, Rongo is going to get points. I think Animat's fine if Rongo was 100 points, to be clear. I think Animat having the 33 on Para and 7 on Warrior is fine. If Rongo is 100 points. Or 80, I guess. It could be like 80 and be fine. Because then you can't play it with 3 Warrior or a Para. They're not talking about giving Archmage points. In fact, they seem to think Archmage is fine because it went down in popularity. Archmage is too strong for this format, dude. They're not talking about giving Odeon points. Odeon is too strong for this format, dude. They're not talking about giving Punk points. Punk is too strong for this format, dude. They're kind of tiptoeing around the Droll conversation. Hopefully we get some clarity in the next article. Droll needs to be more points. And Droll needs more points, and the decks that Droll is meant to counter need a lot more points. That's basically where we're at. You put Droll at like 15, 20 points. You put Nib back to like 7. And you freaking slaughter some engine cards. I think this format's looking really good. But right now, there's still a ton of work to be done. And this little like analysis is concerning. I really hope that they're just kind of holding back. But see, why hold back in general but not hold back about Radiant Typhoon and Runic, right? Why mention that you're going to put points on Radiant Typhoon and Runic but not mention it for Lunalite, Animat, Radiant, or Punk, Archmage, Odeon? I don't know. This is concerning. I'm not super pleased with what I'm reading here. I'm happy with the change in format as far as like the structure of the tournament. Like I said, I'm having a little trouble interpreting this because it says the same format used in YCS events. I don't know if it means main events or side events. So gets plugged into our standard tournament systems. I know Genesys is getting its own YCS, but is this suggesting that Genesys is going to be like a main attraction at every YCS, and there's going to be 2 days of Genesys in addition to 2 days of the main event at every YCS? Like, not just pods, but like you know, 13, 14, 15 rounds of Swiss into a top 8 over the course of 2 days? Is that how it's going to be? I mean, I'd be happy about that, but I'm having trouble interpreting this. Anyway, I've yapped enough. It's been about 15 minutes. I really appreciate you guys checking out the video. Let me know down below what you think about this analysis of YCS Bologna from them. Are you concerned? Are you happy with what they said? Do you think they said enough? Or are you just kind of reserving judgment till you see the What to Expect article? Let me know down below. I appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one. Peace.